Welcome, everyone. As a senior cloud security architect, I frequently see organizations compromised not because their firewalls failed, but because an administrator's account was breached. Today, we are going to master Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management, or PIM. We will explore how it eliminates the massive risk of standing privileges by enforcing just-in-time access. Let's get started. Let's set the stage by addressing the fundamental problem PIM solves: standing privileges. In legacy IT environments, it was common practice to assign permanent, global administrator, or exchange administrator rights to IT staff. This was done for convenience. However, convenience is often the enemy of security. If a user has 24/7 administrative access, so does any attacker who manages to compromise their credentials. This standing privilege represents a massive, unnecessary attack surface. The modern cybersecurity approach, deeply rooted in the zero-trust model, demands the principle of least privilege. This principle dictates that users should only hold the minimum permissions necessary to perform their exact tasks, and critically, only for the duration of that task. By shifting our mindset toward zero standing access, we effectively close the window of opportunity for bad actors. If an account is breached while the admin rights are dormant, the attacker is left holding a standard, unprivileged user account, completely containing the blast radius. Let's look at the paradigm shift illustrated in this flowchart. On the left, we see the traditional IT model flowing into standing privileges. This permanent 24/7 access directly feeds into a high-risk attack surface. An attacker only needs to get lucky once to compromise the entire system. Now, shift your focus to the right side of the diagram. The zero-trust model drives the principle of least privilege. This branches into the concept of zero standing access. Notice the result at the bottom, a contained blast radius. By completely eliminating the permanent nature of administrative roles, we transition our organization from a highly vulnerable state into a resilient, highly defensible posture. Now that we understand the goal, let's introduce the tool that makes it possible: Privileged Identity Management, or PIM. PIM is a premium security service housed within Microsoft Entra ID. Its primary function is to provide just-in-time, or JIT, access to sensitive roles. How does this work in practice? Instead of making an IT engineer an active administrator, you configure them as eligible for the role. In their day-to-day work, they operate as a standard user. When a critical task arises, they must actively invoke PIM to elevate their permissions. Why is this so powerful? Because it systematically enforces zero standing access across your entire organization. The Entra Admin Center provides a unified interface to manage this eligibility. Furthermore, as a senior architect, you should know that PIM's capabilities extend far beyond just Microsoft 365 admin roles. You can use PIM to govern access to back-end Azure infrastructure resources, ensuring that your cloud developers also operate under strict just-in-time constraints. This state diagram elegantly captures the daily life cycle of an administrator using PIM. The user begins in the standard user state. In this state, they have no standing privileges. As the note indicates, if they are phished right now, the system remains safe. When they need to perform an administrative action, they transition via PIM role activation into the active admin state. Here, they hold temporary, elevated rights that are heavily monitored. Once their work is done, or the time limit expires, the system automatically forces a state transition back to the secure, standard user state. This constant fluctuation ensures maximum security. Let's drill down into the most critical mechanism of PIM, time-bound role activation. What does this mean? It means that administrative power comes with a strict expiration date. When a user requests elevation, they don't get the role indefinitely. They get it for a predefined duration, such as 2 or 4 hours. As soon as the role is activated, an immutable countdown timer begins. Why is this feature an absolute game-changer for security? It drastically limits the window of opportunity for an attacker. Even in a worst-case scenario where an attacker manages to hijack an active administrative session, that session has a hard stop. The attacker is racing a clock they cannot pause. As an administrator, you configure the maximum allowable duration for each role. A helpdesk role might be allowed an 8-hour shift, while a highly sensitive security admin role might be capped at 1 hour. The true beauty of this system is its automation. When the timer expires, the back-end authorization tokens are forcefully severed. No human intervention is required to clean up the permissions. Let's walk through the exact sequence of a time-bound activation. The user initiates the process by requesting role activation for 2 hours. Microsoft Entra PIM processes this and injects a temporary authorization token into the M365 backend. The user is now granted admin access. During the note block, the user performs their necessary tasks. But look at step 4. The PIM engine hits the exact 2-hour mark. Instantly, PIM fires a revocation command to the system, stripping the token. The user's access is terminated automatically. The environment cleans up after itself flawlessly. Time limits are excellent, but we must also secure the front door of the activation process. PIM achieves this by injecting intentional friction into the workflow, specifically through multi-factor authentication and business justifications. When a user clicks Activate, they are immediately challenged. First, they must pass an MFA prompt. Why? Because if an attacker phishes an employee's password, we cannot allow them to easily elevate into an administrative role. The MFA challenge stops credential-based attacks dead in their tracks. Second, the user must type a clear, written business justification. A simple "need access" is unacceptable. They should provide a ticket number or a detailed reason like modifying exchange routing rules per change request 442. This creates an explicit, undeniable record of intent for your compliance auditors. For a deep dive, PIM integrates with conditional access authentication context. This means for your most critical roles, you can configure PIM to reject simple SMS text messages and demand cryptographically secure, phishing-resistant MFA, such as a YubiKey, before granting the elevation. This flowchart maps the security gauntlet a user must navigate to activate a role. It begins when the user clicks Activate. Immediately, they hit the MFA challenge. If they fail, perhaps it's a hacker with a stolen password. Activation is blocked. If they pass, they are forced to prompt for justification. The system waits for valid input. If left blank, they are blocked. Once a valid reason or ticket number is provided, it is securely logged to the immutable audit trail. Only after passing these rigorous checks is the role activated. It is a perfect blend of identity verification and administrative accountability. For highly sensitive roles, relying solely on automated checks isn't enough. We need human oversight. PIM provides this through its robust approval workflow integration. What is this? It is a configuration that prevents unilateral role activation. Instead of the role activating immediately upon request, the request is suspended. It is then routed to a designated approver, such as an IT manager or a security team lead. Why is this human-in-the-loop essential? It acts as a definitive safeguard against rogue insider threats. An engineer cannot simply decide to elevate their privileges at 2:00 a.m. on a Sunday to download sensitive data. The manager would have to approve it first. How do you configure this? Within the PIM role settings, you explicitly define which users or groups have approval authority. Diving deeper into the mechanics, the approver receives an email containing the requester's business justification and the requested duration. The approver can validate the request against active change tickets, and they have the power to outright deny suspicious requests, ensuring strict operational discipline. Let's trace the communication flow of an approval request. The requester asks PIM for global admin rights, citing ticket 992. PIM places the request in a holding pattern and fires an email notification to the IT manager, the designated approver. The approver takes time to review the justification against the organization's risk profile. We then reach a decision branch. If the approver denies the request, PIM informs the requester that activation failed, maintaining the security perimeter. If the approver validates the request, they signal PIM to proceed, and access is finally granted. This ensures a strict dual control mechanism for critical infrastructure. Even with JIT access, we must address the long-term lifecycle of permissions. People get promoted, switch departments, and take on new projects. If left unchecked, this leads to privilege creep, where a user accumulates dozens of administrative eligibilities they no longer need. PIM solves this with automated access reviews and expiration policies. What are these? They are scheduled auditing campaigns. Reviewers, typically department heads or security officers, are systematically prompted to review a list of users and declare whether each user still requires their assigned role. Why is this critical? It continuously trims the attack surface back to the absolute minimum. How do you execute this? You configure the review in PIM, setting it to recur quarterly. You can even set roles to definitively expire after 6 months, forcing a hard reevaluation. The expert-level feature here is the system's intelligence. During the review, PIM provides smart recommendations. If it notices a user hasn't activated their eligible role in the last 30 days, it automatically flags them with a recommendation to remove access, removing the guesswork for the reviewer. This visual breaks down the intelligence behind an access review. The quarterly access review starts and the reviewer begins examining the user list. At this stage, PIM's telemetry engine steps in. It asks, has the user activated this role recently? If they are actively using it, PIM follows the left path and recommends that the reviewer keep the access. However, if the role is dormant, PIM follows the right path and strongly recommends remove. When the reviewer clicks approve on that removal, the eligibility is revoked automatically from the directory. The system essentially self-cleans its own permission bloat. Security without visibility is just a false sense of comfort. Therefore, our final core feature is audit logging and alerting. PIM maintains an exhaustive, immutable ledger of every single action taken within its boundaries. The basics are exactly what you need for accountability. You can see exactly who activated a role, the precise timestamp, the business justification they typed, and the manager who approved it. Why is this level of detail mandatory? Because when an external auditor arrives to assess your ISO 27001 or SOC 2 compliance, these logs are your definitive proof that administrative access is strictly controlled. Furthermore, during a security incident, these logs are the first place forensic investigators look. How do you manage this data? The logs are available right in the Entra Admin Center, but standard practice is to stream them directly into a SIEM, like Microsoft Sentinel. Diving deeper, you can configure proactive alerting. You can configure PIM so that the moment anyone activates a top-tier role, like Global Administrator, alarms ring instantly in your Security Operations Center, ensuring maximum situational awareness. Let's follow the data trail in this architecture diagram. Every PIM role activation event immediately writes a permanent record into the Entra audit logs. From there, the data forks. Following the top path, administrators can conduct a local admin center review for day-to-day oversight. However, following the bottom, enterprise path, the logs stream through Azure Monitor into a central SIEM, like Microsoft Sentinel. Sentinel then weaponizes this data. It can trigger a high-privilege alert directly to the Security Operations Center in real time, while simultaneously compiling perfectly structured compliance reports to satisfy your external auditors. To bring this all together, let's look at a critical, real-world use case. Imagine your company is executing a complex network migration. A senior cloud engineer needs to modify virtual network peering rules in your production Azure environment. Under a legacy model, they would possess standing, permanent network contributor rights, representing a massive risk. Using PIM, we secure this process. Step 1. The engineer is merely eligible for the role. On Monday morning, they have no admin rights. Step 2. When the migration window opens, the engineer signs into PIM. They request activation for a specific 4-hour window. They are immediately challenged for MFA, proving their identity, and they enter the official change request ticket number as their justification. Step 3. The IT team lead receives an email, verifies the ticket, and approves the request. The engineer now has the exact rights needed. The outcome: the engineer successfully reconfigures the network. Exactly 4 hours later, PIM forcefully revokes the role. The job is done. The audit trail is perfect, and the organization returns to a state of zero standing access. That is the power of privileged identity management. Observe the seamless operational security in this final sequence diagram. The cloud engineer requests the network contributor role for 4 hours. PIM immediately pushes back, challenging them for MFA and justification. The engineer succeeds, supplying the change request ticket. PIM routes this to the team lead. Once the team lead grants approval, PIM signals the Azure network to temporarily elevate permissions. The engineer performs the critical VNet peering migration. Finally, at the bottom, the 4-hour timer expires and PIM auto-revokes the permissions. Maximum productivity, zero lingering risk.
To find related ebook and other material for this training course, go to quicktechie.com. Now you will see all the video courses are available here. So let's move to the ebooks. You can go here, ebooks, all AI related ebooks, like you are watching currently Mythos related training. That ebook would be uploaded under this section. You can download this ebook. PDF would be available, all 300-page PDF. So you just click on the download this entire ebook. You can download from this section. So whatever training you are currently listening, corresponding ebook would be available. We have thousands of ebooks available. Now, other than that, we have on video courses which you are watching right now. This also all AI related courses are available. Similarly, for all company related trainings are available, like Microsoft. You can find it here with their respective certification training modules. All exam simulators which would help you to get the certification preparation. Just refresh if you get this kind of error. Okay, so now you can see these are all certification preparation materials. Will also be click here to the NVIDIA certification preparation material. So you can see all NVIDIA certification preparation materials, and click on any of this and it would load the entire screen and you can launch the practice paper. So this is what you can see, that you can submit the answer. We have an audiobooks available. Okay, so for each section, and these are our alumni who can you can find out all alumni who are accessing our portal